Good evening, guys. So today you are with me in Pinnacle at Duxton at Outram Park, Central Singapore. Today we're going to talk about HDBs, right? Housing Development Board flats. Okay, so what is HDB? HDB is actually a government initiative for Singaporeans so that all Singaporeans have a home, all right? So means this initiative is to provide affordable housing for Singaporeans. As you know, 80% of Singaporeans stay within HDB flats. Pinnacle at Duxton is actually a $1 million property. So if you get a smaller unit, it's a bit cheaper. Larger unit, it'll be a bit more pricier. So what? Affordable flat at $1 million. Okay, so first thing you have to know that this is a second-hand property and it's been around for quite some time. But it's the most prestigious, most expensive HDB in Singapore. Okay, so generally HDB flats cost between, okay, we start with the 2-room flats. Okay, 2-room flats is 200,000 Singapore dollars, 3-room flats 300,000, 4-room flats 400,000, 5-room flats 500,000. So these are average numbers, so you get more pricier depending on the location and also the demand for this type of properties. Usually properties around the central, it's more pricier because it's near the town center, and properties that are in the suburbs or the outskirts, it'll be a bit more cheaper than the average. Okay, so then you have to know HDB, there's 2 categories lah. Okay, one is just normal HDB flats, second-hand resale, and one is the new HDB. New HDB are called BTOs, means build to order flats. Okay, so build to order flats is for Singaporeans only. Singaporean and Singaporean permanent resident can buy HDB flats. Okay, resale HDB flats. Let's see it in a perspective of, let's say, a foreigner. Okay, foreigners cannot buy HDBs, totally cannot buy. So it's a totally no-no for foreigners to buy. There is no chance for you to buy a HDB flat since these are for Singaporean citizens and Singaporean PRs only. Okay, so the requirements for a Singaporean PR. Okay, what if you are a Singaporean permanent resident? You can buy a HDB flat, but you have to get married first. Either both are Singaporean PRs or one Singaporean PR and one Singaporean citizen. Okay, so that's one condition only. The second condition is you have to pay additional buyer's stamp duty. So how much is 5%? So you're going to pay 5% more tax than a normal Singaporean. So as a Singaporean, HDB is your birthright, and I mean, if it's your first property, you have to get a HDB, right? Unless you have a bit more capital and you want to go in directly to private property, private residential condo, then go for it, because the capital appreciation is much more faster than HDB. But then again, let's go back. If your first property is a HDB or a BTO, built to order flat, it's really good. Just remember to apply for your housing grant, CPF housing grant, enhanced housing grant, and if you can, proximity housing grant, right? So make use of all these grants by the government so that your HDB flat will be very, very much cheaper. It's already cheap, okay? It's already cheap when you have buy a BTO, but it become much, much more cheaper because of the housing grants, right? So that's the advantage of Singaporeans compared with foreigners that are permanent residents, Singapore permanent residents. If both of you, husband and wife, are Singaporean permanent resident, I'd rather just go and directly into private residential properties like condo, because at least the difference between a Singaporean and you are not so high. Okay, if you were to buy a HDB, okay, example here, a Singaporean can get it maximum of 160,000 cheaper because of all the housing grants, and then they don't have to pay additional buyer's stamp duty, right? You as a PR, not only that you don't get any grants from the government, totally nothing, but you also have to pay an additional 5% more than the normal market price of a resale HDB. So that's your disadvantages. Oh yeah, for Singaporean citizens, you also have grants if you buy a housing HDB flat that is on resale. Right? On the resale market, you still can apply for grants, and Singaporean citizens have two chances to buy a HDB. If a Singaporean or Singaporean PR bought a private residential property first, you have no chance. Not say no chance lah. You have very little chance to buy a HDB. So if you are looking to purchase whether HDB or private residential condo and you are Singaporean, go for HDB first. You know, it's your birthright. You get the grants first from the government. You use CPF to purchase. Then you have a very low capital outlay, low capital needed to purchase your first home. And once it appreciated and you get your first pot of gold from those capital appreciation and the principal paid, then you can see whether you want to purchase a private residential property or not. Okay, so they call it HDB upgraders. So you can do that for Singaporean, and for PR, I suggest if you can afford it, just go directly to a condo. You are paying just 5% more, and condos has faster capital appreciation. But of course, find a very good location, and layout must be good, and make sure that there is a lot of demand for that property. Hope you guys enjoyed this video about HDB. Know that, you know, what are your advantages, disadvantages, and hope you guys can purchase your property with much more knowledge than before. Okay, so thank you guys. Please subscribe to Action Yung and take care. See you guys next week.